It's like we're back.
Wow. Right.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to What's Offensive Weekly. We are back. This is episode, I think this is going to be episode number 6.
Wow.
Yeah. You want to hear something insane, Jeff?
Sure.
Here it is. I checked this morning. We have over 300 downloads.
300? It was 250.
It was. Exactly.
Wow.
Last night I looked and I'm like, oh my gosh, over 300 episodes have already downloaded of What's Offensive Weekly. It's amazing. Thank you to those of you listening. So we're going live right now, and I'm just expecting a flood of people just signing up and just going, I can't wait to hear what Scott and Jeff are going to say in this live moment. Well, this week, Jeff and I on What's Offensive Weekly, what we always want to do is talk about those things that are current and that are currently offending people. And so this week, there's only one real topic that everybody is ranting about. And what is it, Jeff?
Baseball.
Nope.
Damn it.
It is the aftermath,
Yes.
which I'm not sure again how to spell,
Okay.
of the Parkland School Shooting.
Yes.
And so, I don't think anyone's offended necessarily. Well, they're offended because the shooting happened.
Mm-hmm.
But what gets them offended is everyone's resolution, how we're going to solve it. So what we'd love to do, how many people are on there right now, Deanna? Is anyone, one person, do you know who it is?
Michelle Carlton.
Michelle, hi. Michelle already told me she'll sometimes go watch my Go Live for 7 seconds and then she just goes away. I got you. I see you, Michelle. I see you. So, Michelle, you got anybody on yours?
Yeah, I got a couple people. I got Steve Strausser is watching and
Yeah.
Brian Bazan.
Well, we'd love for you guys, if there are questions that you have or if you want to hear our perspective on something. Did she say something?
2 minutes left.
I have 2 minutes left and then she's out.
All right.
Jerk. So, anybody...
We're losing listeners as we speak. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get into it. Let's go.
You really ready to get into that?
Let's do it.
All
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So, as many of you know, it was Monday. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I believe it was Monday. This past
Okay.
Monday is when this young man, 19-year-old, busted.
Young man. That's important.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, he is a young man. Yeah,
Man.
he is a man. He busts into this school and starts shooting. And when he's all done, the number was 17.
Yes.
Is that correct? 17 are gone. And I don't think the day had finished. Maybe 24 hours had passed. Maybe. And that's when all of a sudden now the debate started, which in my mind is a little sad. That
The debate starts right away, I think, with number one, with conspiracy theorists, because I've already had to deal with those people who say either it was staged or it didn't actually happen, or
this shooting.
Yes, this shooting.
Now,
Yes.
I believe that about the Vegas one. The Vegas one, I can definitely see that there was a potential for conspiracy, especially since we're how many months back? We're still not really sure what his motive was, and then we don't know where the girlfriend went, and there's plenty of
Are you
gaps
saying it
in that
didn't
one.
happen?
No.
Are you saying that it was staged?
I'm saying that I would have much rather, when they busted in the room, that he was still alive. I find it.
Well, you would rather, but this isn't a CSI episode.
Understood.
I mean,
but if that were the case, I wouldn't have this doubt in my head.
But that's always my question to people like that who have any type of doubt in their head. Like, what exactly is the doubt? Like that it was staged, that it didn't really happen.
And he's a patsy. He's a patsy.
He's a patsy.
Yeah. What happened is there was one person at that concert. It was this American engineer / chemist who had been working on this highly, highly important project, and somebody knew that he had to die, and so you can't just kill him. So they killed a mass of people to hide that up. Just like 9/11.
Wow.
This is not.
I really thought you had. I was looking for the tinfoil on your head or something. I don't know what
This
the hell's
is
going
not.
on.
This is not my thought.
Okay. Wow, we're already off subject, but okay.
So, but you hold on. So you've talked to people who believe that this shooting was a conspiracy?
Yes.
How so?
Yes.
I can't wait to hear what they said.
For instance, somebody had posted on my Facebook yesterday a supposed Craigslist ad about that they're looking for, like, I think it was March 4th, they're looking for crisis actors. And the pay was like $1,000, and for the event is going to take place March 4th, and all this. I'm like, holy shit! Can you be like if you're gonna do something like this, are you really going to put out an ad on Craigslist?
No, you do it on Facebook.
Exactly. You want as many people as possible, so Facebook's way bigger than Craigslist. So yeah, absolutely.
Only creeps are on Craigslist. Come on.
Right, you wouldn't get any real actors on there.
Wow, somebody really thought this, or thinks that this was some kind of something was that we're not getting the whole.
Yeah,
truth.
well, a lot of people. It's funny because a year ago or 2 years ago, let's say, it was anytime something like this happened, it was Obama's trying to take our guns,
Mm-hmm.
and now they can't say, well, Trump's trying to take our guns. It's it's all fake, or somebody's trying to take our gun. Now it's the shadow government. Like that. There's not that. Everybody's there as just puppets, and there's actually the government's run by all this other shit or whatever.
The deep state.
The deep state, the shadow government, all this, all this Twilight Zone shit, and. It's a matter, just like say with 9/11, all these people think, well, it was staged and Bush, flew the fucking plane into the building and jumped out right at the last second or whatever, and people just don't want to believe that bad things.
Trajectory.
Exactly.
Out of here.
People don't want to believe that bad things like this actually happen.
Right.
That's their problem.
So,
They want to project it, and they want to go, well, it doesn't actually happen. There's no way that this evil actually exists in the world. It's a matter of it's not real, so it was staged and fake, and all this stuff's going on about. Didn't you see any of those memes about that kid, the main kid who was the spokesman or whatever for all these kids, and he was in something like that, and he was in California.
Last
August, and he was a witness to some other thing. It was a minor incident. It was not a school shooting or anything.
Yes.
And then he, comes here and does this, and then everybody's like, "Well, he wasn't in my yearbook, and he's this and that." All this shit starts and everything.
Right.
And it's some dude in a basement eating a pizza pocket with in his mom's basement or whatever, starts this stuff, and he has nothing better to do, and then it just adds to the conspiracies of all this stuff. And my problem with that is that. It takes away from trying to tackle a real issue and what's going on when you already. It's like flat earthers, It's when we're talking about how the weather works or whatever. I mean, you have to sit there and convince somebody that the Earth is flat first off before we can even go on to something else or whatever. It's frustrating and it's wait for it. It's offensive.
There's a part of me that thinks, like, is the reality not enough? Like the fact that 17 kids and some adults their lives were taken in a very violent way, that's not enough. Like you've got to go ahead and add this conspiracy theory to it to sexy it up for yourself.
No, it's not even. It's not even that it's not enough. It's just that people can't wrap their heads around evil. They don't want to believe that stuff happens.
Well, as I hear this, and I think you and I have talked about this even before, maybe even on considering the source. Before I make this point, I want to go say, are there any questions or any comments anybody's adding there?
Does anybody have any questions or comments that you're adding here? Look at this handsome fella. Look at it. Look at him.
How you doing?
All right. There you go.
I would like to take this opportunity to do a couple things. We don't have any official sponsors yet.
No. We do.
Yet.
We do. Didn't I tell you about this one?
No.
Yep.
Who?
IconicPhotographer.com.
Is that right?
They signed on exclusively to do commercials here with this podcast.
Listen, if you guys are not familiar with Iconic Photography, they are fantastic. They are cutting edge photographers, quality people. They do some fantastic work, and this is not sarcasm. This is me being very, very serious. Fantastic work. Their quality is the quality of character. They're very poor in that regard.
Yes.
But as far as the quality of the work that they do, holy cow!
Wow.
So thank you so much to our friends at Iconic Photography.
Fucker. IconicPhotographer.com. Iconic Photography was already taken.
Oh, IconicPhotographer.com.
So Iconic Photographer became, people think that it's that person.
Yeah.
Per se. But it's not, it's the brand.
Okay.
Know.
So it's IconicPhotographer.com.
Yes.
So check that site out.
Yeah.
A couple other sites I'd love for you guys to check out.
Wait, are we getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That root beer right there.
Oh, okay.
The consideringthesource.com. consideringthesource.com.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you can go there. Consideringthesource.com is really kind of a landing page, if you will, because you can go to that one site, and that's where you can go ahead and you can get to episodes of the podcast for Considering the Source, where we sit down and we interview individual people one-on-one to try to get their perspective on things.
That Scott hasn't done in over a year.
Yeah, and the other one is where you can also get to What's Offensive Weekly. So it's one site, and it gives you access to both those different podcasts.
Is there a link to iconicphotographer.com on there?
There absolutely is.
Oh, fantastic.
There absolutely is. There's also a link to a friend of mine. His band is Nomads. They're the one who does the music for Considering the Source, which we haven't done in over a year. Thank you very much. And the other sponsor that they don't even realize they're a sponsor, but I really felt like we should go ahead and give a shout out to them, and that is Donut Land in Brunswick,
hell
Ohio.
yes. Yes.
Listen, you're talking to a guy who has a pot belly, and Donut Land they bear some responsibility.
They sure do.
In that.
Mine too.
Because it is delicious.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite thing at Donut Land?
Apple fritters, but
Yeah?
but lately that's my all time. But then lately it's been custard filled chocolate covered Long Johns. Oh,
Custard
God, so good.
filled,
Yes.
chocolate covered Long Johns.
Yes.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful in more ways than one.
And how do you order that when you walk in?
I point at it
Hi.
and I go that one.
Okay, because I was wondering.
I'd like a
custard-filled
chocolate-covered
Long John, please.
They're also, I do the Brunswick Hunt every year. It's a scavenger hunt.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
They have donated to that every year.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
yes.
My personal favorite there is that cinnamon roll. This is just a mass of bread and cinnamon and sugar and just goodness.
Sure.
And listen, Dunkin' Donuts, you go there all you want if that's your thing. I gotta get my Dunkin'. Whatever you gotta do. All I'm telling you is you're wasting your money compared to this. Because this one is gonna be less expensive and it's more food.
Amen. Okay, let's get back onto this subject here. Okay,
All right.
Let's go. All right, come on. My buddy Brian here said, you ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. He said, don't really buy into the whole conspiracy as far as it didn't happen or a staged incident. I do, however, believe that the government ignores when felons attempt to buy a firearm, even when prohibited from being in possession of one, or people who are otherwise prohibited from owning such a weapon.
What?
The statistics for felons actually being prosecuted for attempting to purchase a firearm are sickening. What do you think about that?
I would need to see those statistics.
Okay.
I'd like to know where they were acquired.
Okay.
I think that's important. Unfortunately, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example that to my core pisses me off.
Yeah.
So it was probably Tuesday after the gun shooting, and one of the politicians in an article I read was saying in 2018 there have already been 18
That's
18
bullshit.
mass school shootings,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Not
but
true.
I'm like, how have I not heard of this? So when I go and I actually do the research to find, okay, what are these? It's kids sometimes taking their lives
Right.
in school.
It's shootings that
Accidental.
happened after school hours that were just on the property.
Somebody's gun went off.
Right.
This is why I'm saying, so to Brian,
Sure.
I'm not debating that. All I'm saying is I would love to see the statistics that would support that.
Sure. Yeah.
That's
no,
all.
I hear you. But okay.
But let's just go ahead with this story. And do we want to continue to go live, or are we going to
No,
tell
we're gonna
everybody?
keep going. Fine.
All right.
Whatever, man. Who cares? I got.
You getting tired, Deanna?
I'm okay.
I'm good.
All right. Any questions over there?
No.
What, Jeff's friends are the only ones that ask questions? My friends, come on, step up your game.
They're having conversation amongst
Yeah, I think
themselves.
Steve
Oh,
said
okay.
that was debunked already. I think he's talking about the 18 school shootings already.
Yeah,
And
as it should be.
yeah. So what I want to do too is take this step by step here and say, what have you seen on your Facebook feed as far as possible solutions
Yeah.
for this? Let's go one at a time. What's one of them that you've seen to stop this from happening?
Well, before I get to that, I'm sorry. That's important.
Okay.
But this is I
See what happens when I try to take control?
yeah. I'm just going to
You
snatch
shoot
that.
down.
I'm gonna snatch it right back.
Okay.
So this is something I have written down and something I've thought as of late, and that is this, because what I'm going to tell you is why we have to talk about it before we can get to the solution.
Okay.
Okay. What happens when an event like this happens is everyone's emotions go through the roof, and rightly so. If as a society this would happen, we're like, oh, Okay, then we're dead. We have no souls. All right.
Sure.
So people getting emotional is natural. But what we have to do is remember this: that when your emotions go through the roof, your ability to clearly think and process and come up with legitimate solutions drops dramatically. We have to wait until the fog of war. We have to wait until those emotions die down, and then and only then can we actually come up and have actual rational, long-term, true, good solutions.
So you're saying now is not the time to talk about gun control? You're part of the problem. This is terrible.
Yeah.
You don't care about children.
Yes.
You hate children. You basically just killed them yourself.
Yes, yes. So this point right here is also incredibly valid
Yes.
because both parties, both Republicans and Democrat, in this situation alone, did that. Because it pissed me off because Trump at first kept his mouth shut. Thank you. Just shut up and let this thing go out. And then he had to tweet, if the FBI hadn't been checking out Russia, maybe they could have solved this little problem.
That was the most terrible Trump impression I've ever heard in my life.
Thank
it was like Trump had a kid with Christopher Walken or something.
It was pretty ugly.
Brian Negan.
It was more Brian Regan. More Brian Regan, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, the point is that both parties did it, and that's what annoys me.
Sure.
Ben Shapiro, years ago, had this famous interview with Piers Morgan. And one of his opening statements to Piers Morgan is, you stand on the graves of these children to go ahead and just to continue to propel your political position that basically we need to be just like London and have all guns, and Piers Morgan was so pissed. But that is exactly what Piers Morgan did. Piers Morgan wasn't talking about this in July when there were no school shootings. He waits until the school shooting happens, then steps up and says, basically, how can you not agree with this? How can you not agree? Because and his leverage in this emotional argument is he's standing on the graves of these dead children to do it.
Well, I've always said that's the inherent initial difference between Democrats and Republicans, conservative, liberal. Let's say.
Okay.
They want to. Conservatives want to think with their head, and they want to go, and so then they're labeled as emotionless, and they don't care about the heart of the matter. Whereas liberals, they think with their heart and not with their head, and they're too. And the thing is, we need to come together.
That's correct.
And think with both.
Yes.
But that's the one thing that really annoys me is when I'm conservative and you're heartless. You don't care about the homeless or the children or whatever. You just care about people taking your guns or women's rights or whatever. Yeah. But meanwhile, we're sitting here doing the main gist of all of this, and your poor wife is over here. Just sitting there, just being a woman, basically barefoot, and just sitting there doing what you told her to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, Deanna?
We're gonna have
switch that.
We
Isn't that awesome?
We didn't prepare that.
We didn't prepare. That wasn't on the board.
we're gonna have words later.
That's what we call improv, people. Okay, yeah, that totally throws Scott.
Now, my point being that when emotions are high, our ability to think clearly and come up with legitimate solutions is very low.
Agreed.
So, and that also leads us to what we've seen in this past week of everybody screaming. For instance, when there was the town hall that CNN, who should have a subtitle, fair and balanced, when CNN did their little town hall and they had this woman, the head of the NRA, which is fantastic that it's a woman, and she's the head of the NRA, and she comes up, and they begin to chant, "Burn her."
Well, sure.
Burn her.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. That's the liberal tolerance, as we.
Yes, you've got. Yeah, as long as you're agreeing with me.
Right.
Okay. And this isn't to say that there aren't Republicans who do the same thing.
Sure.
All I can speak for is me, and I strive to be objective. I may not agree with your perspective, but I don't care who you are. Unless you're a child molester, I'm not going to go burn them. That's not going to be my thing. So here we are now, a week after.
So you judge child molesters, is what you're saying?
I do.
Isn't that for God to judge?
It is actually for both.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Is that Scott
There was
316?
there was a memo that was sent out.
Oh my God.
He said in the next week, if you have some free time, if you could please judge these child molesters, it would really ease my... And I got it.
Oh man, I must have missed that one. Okay.
It is in the Bible.
That's okay.
It is in the Bible.
Oh, Scott 3:16.
It is not Scott 3:16. It was the
Roll
apostle.
mark
It was the
3:16.
apostle Paul. The apostle Paul. I'm popping my
Shall
piece.
judge child molester.
All right.
All right.
What,
Go ahead.
we didn't even start recording. What time is it? All right. So,
We record.
no, we're recording. I never started the timer.
Oh,
Here's the
that's
point.
right.
Here's the point. We're now at a position. We're almost a week away. This isn't perfect, but I think we're almost at a point now where the emotions have started to die down, and we can now start thinking a little more rationally.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as I'm concerned, there have been two solutions that I have heard that I think are the most legitimate.
Okay.
That's not to say that there aren't others that are going to come. I'm just saying
Sure.
these are two that I've heard.
Okay.
Do you want to hear those now, or do you want
Yeah,
to?
I want to hear them
Okay,
now.
so here are the two.
Sure.
The first one is that there needs to be a way in which family and or close friends of a person who is basically losing it, they are out of touch, there's something wrong with them, that family or very close friends or guardians would be able to move in and take some kind of action so that the government could come in and make sure that this person has no access to any guns. This comes from a very personal place in my own life, that there was a young man who was 19 or 20 years old at the time. Was it, Deanna, what was his age? Was he 20, 21?
I don't know.
He was of age, and neither his mother or anyone in his family could have him institutionalized.
Okay.
Because he was over age and he has civil rights, and I understand that. But what you were dealing with was a person who was dealing with schizophrenia, and they were seeing things and they were hearing voices, and next thing you know, the young man gets into a car with guns, with money, with cell phones, and says, I'm heading to Colorado to become a park ranger. They're not thinking clearly.
And what do you got against park rangers?
As they start moving, as they start heading out to Colorado, they all of a sudden now start ditching everything. Why? Because this reminds me of this person, or this might be bugged.
Okay.
So until this person is finally at a point where they're sleeping in, they're basically hitchhiking all the way out here, stopping, and on the side of the road there's an old combine tractor. I'll sleep in that overnight, or I'm just going to sleep in this culvert over here. Meanwhile, the mother, the father, the family, they can't do anything. They cannot even have this person institutionalized. So that's the first thing with this, is that there needs to be some ability for people to come in and say, listen, I understand the whole civil rights, I do, but sometimes when these people are in this state, they cannot think clearly. That's one. The second one is, and this has certainly lost some validity in the last probably 24 hours, and that is that there needs to be armed men or women and I'm not talking about the police at this point in time. I'm not talking about arming teachers.
Okay.
We can talk about that too.
Okay.
But there needs to be armed people there. The issue in the last 24 or 48 hours, yes, was because we said that these guys showed up, and then they could hear the shooting inside, and they didn't go in.
Right.
I'm gonna try.
Oh, man, you look like Trump right now. That's awesome. Huge.
Really, really huge. These are horrible, horrible people.
Much better than your previous impression.
I know these people. This is better than my last impression?
Yeah, that's way better, yeah.
I'm going to try not to judge these cops for not going in.
Okay.
But I'm pissed to my core that you did not go in. Maybe their fear is, I don't know how many are in there. I don't care how many are in there. You know what they're doing in there.
The first responders for 9/11 knew that those buildings were probably going to fall.
And they went in.
Yeah, exactly. That's your job. So.
But my point is before that. I'm not talking about guys who showed up and then didn't go in, which again is totally wrong. Mm-hmm. Here's my scenario. Here in this town, can I say the name of my town? You think in this podcast? North Royalton, Ohio.
Yeah.
So
where is South Royalton?
It doesn't exist. They're
okay.
Total trash.
Wow.
There.
Okay.
Kidding to all those former South Royalton people. They're now Hinckley, so actually they've really improved.
Oh,
Think
yeah.
about that.
Oh, they are.
South Royalton is Hinckley.
Is it really?
Yeah, so we're really the trashy ones.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, well, you're both total rich snobs. But
Yeah, right. So in North Royalton, the middle school and the high school are just a parking lot apart. And I'm going to tell you right now, this floored me. This floored me. Now you can speak to Brunswick High School and middle school in a second, but because I want to hear with this. So I have to go at random times. I have to go to the middle school and the high school because they forgot their lunch or they forgot their hoodie or whatever the case.
Shouldn't the woman be doing that, Scott?
I always say that, but she's like, I'm making dinner. And
I'm going to go get my gun.
She's going to go get her gun. So this is what I find when I go to the middle school. You got to buzz in.
Okay.
All right, you got to buzz in, and literally one time, I'm standing outside and it was cold, and I'm buzzing, and there's a mother who's coming out, and she sees me, she stops, like she won't even open, even though she's wanting to exit the school, she will not exit until I'm actually buzzed in, and she just waited there. And when I came in, she's like, I'm sorry, but is there policy? I said, I understand.
You know why?
I understand.
You're man.
That's exactly
Sexist.
yes, it's exactly what it was. Yeah. So that's at the middle school, all right?
Yeah.
I had to go drop something off at the high school.
Yeah.
Now here's the only positive. In front of the high school was a cop car. And I presume it was a cop in there because there was a donut. But
sure.
But I went in.
It's Captain Carl.
It was Captain Carl that was out there? Well,
Captain.
good for Captain Carl. So
Captain Carl!
Here's the thing. When I walk through, I open the first door. I'm expecting something just like the middle school. I open the first door. I open the second door. I'm in the school. I'm walking down. And then there's Betty sitting at a little desk. Welcome to North Royalton High School. Betty, what are you going to stop? Captain Carl, I don't know what... the visual of him alone would have, in my mind, would have caused someone pause.
Okay.
But Betty is not going to do anything other than she's going to probably lose her life if somebody comes in there.
Sure.
So what is she going to do? So my thought is we either have to go ahead and put armed officers or armed veterans out there in front of those schools, and or when I go to work, I don't know about you, I have a badge. I cannot get into the building without that badge. Now, both of my kids at the beginning of the school year are both issued student ID. For what purpose at this point in time, I have no clue.
Buy lunch.
To buy lunch. We've got to get them, my wife just informed me, it's there just for them to buy lunch. Let's shoot higher, everybody. Let's go ahead and put something up so that people can't just walk in. Like this way I would know who's coming in.
All right, this is my all right. No.
So those are my two solutions.
All right, let me rant and say that the people who you just said that they're not in their right mind. They get progressively crazy. They not thinking clearly like you or I would think. To a point. But do you really think if you wanted to go in there and you're like,
understood,
I'm going to kill somebody?
Yes,
they could get in there. Easily.
I agree.
Just like say, who is it here? Rick Moy said, if you can screen 80,000 people to get into a football stadium, 2,000 kids can be screened to get into a school.
He is correct.
That is correct. But in that same respect, do you think that this shooter, this kid, is going to come to school and then he's going to go, oh, okay, hold on, let me go through this metal detector, let me get in line? No, they're not going to give that. It doesn't happen at the beginning of school. It happens during school when and everybody's there and like say for instance like at Brunswick, as far as I know, the band room has almost always been open, like the entrance to get into that.
Okay.
And there's all kinds of extracurricular activities that occur that need cause for all this stuff to happen. It's very easy. I mean, metal detectors aren't going to do shit. I'm sorry, it's not going to do a damn thing, because if somebody wants to get in there, that's the thing. Everybody wants to think with their heart and go, how can we prevent this from happening? Well, you know what? Unfortunately, you can't. And you got to remove the intent from the person. And that removing the intent goes back to what you were saying with mental health. It's mental health, mental illness. I could have had access to guns. I had neighbors who had guns, whatever, when I was a kid. Nobody wanted to do this. That's the difference. Everybody says, well, it's because we don't spank kids. No, it's not because we don't spank kids. Why? Kids aren't going, oh, well, I didn't get spanked, and so I get everything I want, so I want to kill people. No, there's a serious mental illness going on in this country, and nobody wants to address it. Everybody wants to just say, well, how can we take the weapons away from them. Well, you can take all the weapons away from them. Even if you do, you still have to deal with the problem of why they want to hurt people.
So, all right, may I?
You may.
All right. I don't know. Like, for instance, you were mentioning mental illness, and are you then equating saying every time a person comes into a school and does this mass shooting, this is going to sound crazy that I'm even asking this question, does that always necessarily mean that something is mentally wrong, like they're out of touch?
Yes. Anytime you want to harm yourself or harm another human being and kill someone, that means you're not thinking clearly. You're not thinking straight.
I would agree you're not thinking well, meaning you're not these are certainly not good thoughts, but I don't know that I can necessarily automatically say they're mentally ill. And even when I hear myself say it, I get it. Here's why.
Here's why. The tinfoil hat's girl.
Here's why.
So, yeah. Okay.
My grandfather, the giver of all great advice, had said to me one time, as an impressionable youth, because I couldn't make this up. All right, listen, Scotty, if you're ever going to shoot somebody, you got to shoot more than one. Okay, that was his point. If you're going to go in and kill one person, you got to kill 10, because that way you can claim insanity. Okay? I'm not going to give his name.
Do you think that there was a slight tongue-in-cheek?
No. If you knew this man at all, you would know he's giving you words to live by. Scotty, if you ever get a flat tire, call AAA. If you ever get angry when you kill somebody, kill 10. This was no tongue-in-cheek. This was dead serious. This was dead serious.
Well, do you think that your grandfather was possibly mentally ill?
That's debatable.
Okay, well, then
he's no longer with us. Clearly he's not right now.
Sure.
But did he have his issues? Sure. Who doesn't?
Okay.
I guess my point is, like, when I think about the Columbine shooters, those two kids.
Yeah.
So now we're going to have to then conclude that they were both mentally ill. I don't know how well mentally ill people work together, that they can plot this whole thing out. That doesn't jive to me. Maybe
it doesn't jive to you because you're not mentally ill. You have to realize.
Show me scenarios in which mentally ill people are all of a sudden going to work in perfect tandem.
Do you ever see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Yes, but
case closed. The guy rips the water fountain out. I barely remember.
They're opportunists.
Okay.
They're opportunists. All of a sudden something can happen, and now we're all going to go and start having pure chaos. But this was different than that. This was well organized and planned what they did. That doesn't speak it speaks to a certain type of mental illness, but not like schizophrenia. It doesn't speak to.
No, it doesn't. But in the same respect, you don't know what a murderer. It's like people who.
If we're talking sociopath, if that's the type of mental illness we're going to talk about, I'm fully with you. But
what's your definition of a sociopath?
A person that basically is able to commit these crimes and they feel no emotion. They're not going to feel any remorse. If that's the mental illness that we're talking about, I'm fully on board. But I'm not going to say like it. I think that we have to make that distinction when we say it's mental illness. Sociopath, okay, because two sociopaths, I presume there have been serial killers and rapists that have worked as teams, but it's a different kind of mental illness than like I said, schizophrenia or depression, or it's different than that.
Oh, sure, it's different, but there's a huge umbrella of mental illness.
I guess here's my point. A person that has schizophrenia, it is a genetic thing. It can be helped with medication, but we can't point back in their life and go, this event right here, that probably led to it, or that exacerbated it. Okay? With a sociopath, oftentimes they can go back and in the psychological growing or growth of that individual, they can see right here, when the father left, when the mother left, when this child was raped, all of a sudden something broke in their head and all of a sudden the sociopath showed up. The reason I think that distinction is important is because it does not remove responsibility from them, but it allows me to start looking at society and saying, okay, there's a bigger thing that we have to deal with here. Father's leaving, mother's leaving, all this kind of stuff. That's something that we can actually fix. I cannot all of a sudden just eradicate all schizophrenia or all these kind of things. That's the distinction I'm making as far as this.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. Because for me, for this kid, like I don't know what his background. I don't know if he was bullied. I know that his mother died last November.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of shit going on in his life that was really, really bad.
Okay, I know plenty of people who grew up bad, who had shit going on in their lives, or their parents died, or they were raped or whatever. They're not killing people. They're not killing people. They make bad decisions, huh?
Not with guns.
Not with guns.
But with Facebook
Slowly,
comments.
both. Yeah, absolutely.
Mean tweets.
They're
killing people's souls.
killing them softly.
Yes.
Yes.
I understand.
Do you think Trump had a bad childhood, and that's why he's mean?
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm not
not to get
too optimistic about Barron. What are the ramifications going to be with Barron Trump?
Oh, that's terrible.
When his father does not see him, or
why is his father not seeing him?
I think that this
was playing golf.
When I watch it, what I foresee is, Donald, I would love to have a child. That's fine. I'm not talking to him. It's going to be entirely yours. That's exactly what I see.
Your Trump impression is totally different every single time. And I love how Melania sounds like Natasha from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Moose and square, we will get them. As all of a sudden there's a Russian spy. Maybe Melania is a Russian spy.
She
you
could
think
be.
of that?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Right there we stumble on.
There's something Mueller should be investigating.
Yes, Bueller, Ferris Bueller. But just why do you think he's not there for his kids? I mean, just because he tweets a lot or something?
No, because his son is in New York, and he is in Washington D.C.
So he's the president. He can go anywhere anytime he wants.
Yeah, I think that
I know
Malia. What were Obama's daughter's names? Melania and
Melania and.
It was not Melania. It
was
was Malia and I can't remember the other girl's name, but
Shaniqua.
They lived there. It was not Shaniqua.
No. Chiquita?
It was not. They both lived there at the White House with Obama.
Okay.
They're
aren't they there now? I think that they're there now, aren't they?
In Washington?
Yeah,
I think they moved back.
Okay, well then there you go.
No. I'm talking not about Barron.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Melania and Barron. I thought they were living in the White House now.
Maybe they are.
They were waiting for him to finish that year of school.
Oh, okay.
I thought.
Then if that's true, great. Because initially, would it strike you as odd that Trump would have a son in some other place and didn't really see this son? Like when he greets him, he shakes his hand. How are you? And I'm like, it's your son. I'm kidding.
How do you know?
I don't know. I'm kidding. I'm making that up. Thank you for your vote. He's 10. He's 10, and he's your son.
Sure. Sure. And his name's Barron.
I've got some advice for you.
Now he's
I've
got some advice for you. That's the only one you haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Adrian Barron.
So,
okay.
The point is, going back to mental illness, going back to these shooters. Boy, we really
went off on the table. My buddy Brian Bazan said, "You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is good. Everyone has a monster in them, but not everyone has a cage to keep the monster locked up. Personality disorder."
Yeah.
Boom. How about that?
Yeah.
Justin wants you to just get to it. Should we or should we not ban AR-15s?
All right. Justin is asking the question: should we or should we not ban AR-15s?
No.
Yeah. The answer is no.
Absolutely not, Justin. Sorry, I don't know you, Justin, but...
he's right there with you.
Okay.
You're not offending him at all.
Okay, I don't care if I'm offending people because this is What's Offensive Weekly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it's not let's
for the offenders and offendees.
It's not let's offend people weekly.
That's how I think we differ, because that's what I think it is. You don't think so. But yeah, no, absolutely not. I have a huge problem with this whole thing with Trump saying that the whole gun thing should be 21 and over now. That's a real problem. It's a real issue. I'll tell you why. Because you should not restrict the rights of adults in this country, and that's what you're doing. And yes, when you say people that can't drink at 18, you are restricting rights of adults. Make no mistake about it. That is unconstitutional. Smoking, drinking, everything. If you think that people shouldn't be allowed to do that stuff at 18, then we need to raise the age of being an adult to 21.
Okay.
We shouldn't be going through all this shit. And then people say, oh, well, you have to be 25 to rent a car. What about that? Well, that's not the government, dickhead. That is a private enterprise, a private business. They can set whatever they want. They can say you have to be 50. and that's up to them.
Yeah.
It's not the government. So we have certain constitutional rights; those should not be taken away. Why do you need an AR-15? Well, I don't. Why do you need the freedom of speech? Why do you need all this stuff? It's a right. We're allowed to have it.
Is there another comment?
Justin wants you to know that you were meant to be his friend, and he wants Scott to introduce you to him.
Okay. Cool. Send me a friend request.
Yeah.
New BFF.
Justin.
Right.
So as I talk to people about guns, the question that is, whenever it's presented to me, it takes all of the energy and strength in my body to stop my eyes from rolling into the back of my head when they say, but what do you need that for?
Right.
Because that question is moot. That question does not matter. Because I have the right, I can do it. I do not have to give any justification, or I don't have to validate my reason. I have the right to do it. So stop asking the question, why do you need that? Because it does not matter. I don't need to justify that to anybody. I've been given the right. Now, let me just say this. I believe that the character and the mindset of an 18-year-old was dramatically different today to 1980, to the 1950s, the 40s, back to the time of the Constitution being written. Okay? I firmly believe that. And when you're 18 back then, you're already on a farm, perhaps. You're already married. You may already have children. You have responsibilities. At that point in time, 18-year-olds were different than they are today.
Do you have any idea how incredibly old you sound?
But am I right?
I don't know, are you?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yeah. How old do I sound right now when I say, of course I'm right? How old does that sound?
Of course I'm right.
Let me give you an example.
But is it because that's how we let them be? And they're mentally capable of doing this stuff.
The question isn't about capability. It's just, is this, this is reality?
Everybody keeps throwing out this Tide Pod shit.
Yeah.
This is the generation that eats Tide Pods. Well, okay, yeah. And my response, if I was in the Tide Pod eating generation, I'd say, well, you're the generation that raised us. Mm-hmm. And I would say, you're the generation that drinks and drives. And you're the generation that texts and drives and dies. More adults drive texting and driving than kids. But they make adults, or they make the kids, not text and drive in North Royalton.
Mm-hmm. But adults can't.
But adults can. 18 and older can. 16 to 18 you can't. But more adults die by doing it than kids. So how is that?
So your point being that no one should text and drive.
Sure, absolutely.
Fine.
Nobody should text and drive.
Fine. Yeah, I don't know how they're limiting that.
Again, you're limiting. 16 to 18 I can see, because 16 you're not an adult, but you can have a driver's license. So you're 16 to 18 you're not covered by the Constitution necessarily, because of for adult rights. How's that?
Listen, we could spend 6 episodes on how broken and how what's the word I'm looking for? It's not hypocritical, but there's not consistency. We can send a guy to war at 18 and he can take a gun and shoot people. But yet when he gets back, what we want to do is say, now give the gun back. You can't have one until you're 21.
Yes, that drives me crazy, because if people say, well, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun at 18 except for military. So what you're saying is that an 18-year-old can go defend your ass over in some other country, but when they come over here, they can't defend their own home? Yeah. Bullshit.
Yeah.
That's
ridiculous.
A bunch of crock of shit.
It's ridiculous to say that they can't drink, that we could potentially train them to kill people.
Right.
But they can't drink alcohol. That's ridiculous. Voting is 18, but they're going to vote on issues that could potentially say whether or not they can drink or do these things at 18. Mm-hmm. It's all kind of messed up. We have to conclude. Fine. Listen. When are you an adult when you're 18 or when you're 21?
Exactly.
It needs to be one or the other. Let's just make the freaking move and let's be done with it.
I agree.
And while we're at it, let's get rid of that daylight savings time. It needs to go.
Amen.
Okay?
That's
10 episodes.
That's number
right
one.
there.
Yeah.
10 episodes on that.
Okay, my buddy Brian also said about talk about AR-15s. They're used in everything from home defense to long-range precision shooting, It's estimated between 5 and 10 million AR-15 pattern rifles are in civilian hands in the U.S.
Say that again, that number.
5 to 10 million AR-15s
Okay.
are in the civilian hands in U.S. with they're rarely being used in a crime, despite the highly publicized incidents such as Vegas and Florida. That's the thing, you still basically, for all intents and purposes, you have just as much chance of dying from your bathtub, of slipping and falling and hitting your head in the bathtub, than being killed by a firearm.
Yeah. I was somewhere the other day, and just somehow, with some strangers, this conversation came up, which is always a very tense time for me, because I'm not sure what I'm going to say that's going to offend them. But I was basically saying, so the number again was between 5 and 10 million.
Yes.
Okay? So in our country, there are 5 and 10 million people who have not used it.
5 and 10 million.
Okay, guns.
Guns.
So
my
friend Justin has 1 million of those.
Right.
Okay. So
I have another friend who has 1 million too.
Yeah. So fine.
Right.
So the point is that in the country there are currently, let's just say, we'll call it 7.5 million. There's 7.5 million of these AR-15s. In 2018, one of them was used to do a lot of damage.
Right.
All right, everybody, bring them back in.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that, as a kid, when you're at recess and some idiot does something like picks on somebody else, or they break something they shouldn't, or they go farther than they should. All right, recess is over for everybody. You want to kill that kid.
Sure.
Okay. And it's the same.
That's a good point. It's the same mentality.
It's the same thing here. We cannot have that. We are punishing innocent people who are law-abiding. They're doing it in the right way. They're being responsible.
Why do you need that gun?
I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to dignify that question.
Sure.
The best answer is, in my mind, because as we talked earlier when I talked about these friends that I had in Germany, okay? Mm-hmm. Listen, man, do you think that they saw... Okay, question. This, I can't wait to hear your response on this one. Okay, when did Hitler arise?
He died in 1945.
Okay.
And so he rose, 5-10 years before that?
Okay, so let's say 1940.
Okay.
When he starts coming up, and the people who are opposing him, who were they referring him to?
Trump.
Yeah. You're just like Trump in the future. It's just like Trump in the future.
Sure.
The bottom line is this. Unbelievable. Like, who was Hitler before? Yeah, but Stalin. See, that's another thing, is that society doesn't truly understand how much death communism caused compared to Hitler. But yet Hitler's always the go-to.
But that's why all these young kids are saying, well, just take away the guns, we don't care. The whole point of the Second Amendment is to protect us from a tyrannical government.
Tyrannical government. And here's my point. Like right now, and I'll get right to that question. Right now, yes, I don't foresee in the next 5 to 10 years a government coming in and trying to just go ahead and control us again. But I'm going to be armed just in case.
That's
exactly right.
1935.
Oh no, Hitler, he ain't that bad. He's a good guy. Got that sweet mustache. Whatever they're thinking about him, they didn't see. I promise you, they did not see what was coming. And if they had, someone could have said, listen, this is what he's going to do, and they could prove that this is the plan. If you could somehow look in the future, they would have taken up arms and they would have killed him.
Sure.
Okay? That's why. That's why we have guns. And this is the same thing I've told to people in South Africa or in Germany. Listen, both of who have suffered under the hands of tyrannical governments. Tell me a apartheid would have happened if you guys had been armed. No way in hell.
Sure.
So if you want to know why do I need it, that's why I need it.
Well, that's why I think the young kids today, they need it. And I did too when I was a kid. I would have needed that same history lesson. But you have to realize what's happened. Whenever they've taken guns away, bad things have happened.
Yep.
Throughout all of history.
Was there another question?
Justin said civilians in the U.S. own 42% of the world's privately owned firearms.
42% of the world's privately owned firearms
are in the United States. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this thought came to my head the other day. So we need to stop. People are saying we need to stop the guns. Mm. So let's go back to Monday. And we finally, let's just say I am the police officer and I come into the school. Put the gun down. I'm unarmed. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is that going to happen?
No.
No. The only way that you stop a man with a gun is to have a gun. Okay? Because the thing is, like, you'll watch these videos on Facebook where these guys, I love the one where it's like it's a casino somewhere, and these guys come into the casino, they're going to hold it up, and then that vet hops up with his pistol, boom, 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 and for some reason, they go running out.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, as crazy, and this is what I'm going to say to you about the whole mental issue, as crazy as they frickin' are, for some reason, they don't want to get shot.
Well, there's still a will to survive with all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, they can still think clearly in that regard.
Sure, but as far as this goes, like, you know, everybody keeps saying we should arm the teachers. I don't think that's a viable option. I'll tell you why. Because number one, when you have something that going on, you have total chaos erupting, and then all of a sudden you have teachers. Whether let's say that they're expert marksmen, you know, whatever, had tons of training, the whole bit. Some of these guys, you know, there's absolute chaos going on. Sometimes they throw smoke bombs or whatever and everything. You can't see what's going on. They're shooting, you're shooting. The cops come in, and then it's just they're going to start shooting teachers. But then, other than that, I only envision bad things happening with a gun, either on the side of a teacher or in a desk or whatever. I mean, nothing good other than that infinitesimally small possibility of everything, of all that happening. You still have bad kids that could, you know, say, you know, whatever. There's a million things that could go wrong with a gun, handgun on the side of a teacher. I just don't see how it's, you know, if you want to say, you know, like armed guards outside protecting the inside, that's one thing. But to have them in there, I don't see how that's going to be good.
Let's be honest. While they might go, you have two comments. Mm-hmm. We'll get to it in 1 second. While they might be, they've taken that weekend course. All right, these are not people who are trained in military, in conflict situations that they can go ahead and clear a room. They can, in the fog of war. Listen, they know English. All right, they know prepositions and they know all that kind of stuff, but they don't necessarily know about guns. The thing I will say in positive of it is, what if, like, people in front of their houses say, come on in, we're locked and loaded. There is a certain deterrent to it. If I knew that there's,
you're right.
Okay, that's, so I'm not, I see that, I agree with you that I think there's more potential for problems than good. And so let me add this. My statement about the badges, kids using badges, is not to say I'm going to keep them out, but it is a deterrent. It is going to slow them down. Like, I wish.
Okay, I can see that.
I wish that it's like at hospitals, for instance. At hospitals, especially like where if you go to the labor and delivery area, if somebody tries to take a child out of there, as soon as that child who has this little bracelet on it, as soon as it crosses this thing, all of a sudden, boom, things get locked down. And you can have a gun if you want, but you're not getting out. We could do the same things with these schools. Everything is. There are all these different sections. The high school is like a freaking maze over there, okay?
Yeah.
You can't tell me that you couldn't put special doors, and all of a sudden if some button is pushed, boom, these double doors go locked down, and you cannot get through there. There needs to be something. So what
I understand what you're saying.
So these things would deter. Would it say they can't get in there and kill any? No, probably not. Right. But it's going to lower that. And that's really what I'm looking for. That's the reason I have my positions on abortion. Am I so naive as to think, oh, now there's never going to be another abortion? No, I'm confident. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Sure, yeah, right.
But is the idea going to be to deter it or to minimize it? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm not so naive to say we're going to wipe it all out.
No, I feel the same. And again, I mean, I'm all for, you know, arming, say, school rooms with certain doors or those things that lock at the bottom or whatever. You know, teacher, if it's during class, that's a huge difference between when, like, this dude pulled a fire alarm, so that's different. You know, all the kids are out in the hall. But if it's during class and they start hearing gunshots, the teacher can go over to the door, close it, you know, lock it up, whatever. And there shouldn't be other windows where, you know, somebody can get in and everything. It should be thought about in the construction of new schools.
If it were me, if Trump were smart, clearly he doesn't care about debt.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's a whole other subject.
So
and I'm pissed about that.
Yeah, you want to get reelected, Trump? Here's what you do. You fix the roads, and you go ahead and you start giving money. You push billions of dollars to schools to make these upgrades. You do that, and I believe that's not his approval rating today, 50%. And I'm like, all right, I've got to see that.
Okay, and
Because
is it?
I have no idea. All I saw was the headline. That's all I read, and then that's truth to me.
Oh, good.
And
That's fantastic. That's definitely.
And
why
it was
I
on.
like
It was on a very.
like Huffington Post or something.
Trump. It was. I'm sorry. It was on Drudge Report.
A Drudge Report.
Yeah. So you know. So you know that it's fair and balanced.
Yeah. I think HuffPost said his approval rating was 1%.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So again, you have to dig in at 1% what? Yeah, 1% what? So the point is, I think that there needs to be something. This bump stock, this ban.
Yeah.
Well, that should have been done the week after the Vegas shooting. So he's giving them a little bit, but but thankfully he's not going to just say, all right, AR-15s are banned.
Why? So you're all for the bump stock ban?
Yeah, that's not necessarily, because it's not truly making it automatic, but it's making it so the person can fire very, very quickly. You're modifying that so they can, instead of just boom, 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 it's boom, 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 boom. You're just.
Is that a technical term? Boom, 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 like
it
that?
is.
Okay, all right. Well, in that same respect, then, didn't you just say that, you don't need to question my rights? It's my right. If I want to be able to go boom, 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 I should be able to go boom, 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 boom,
no.
boom.
We as a country have determined that there are certain military upgrades. There are certain things that we should be. I don't want people walking around with a rocket launcher.
Why not?
Stupid.
It's arms. Tyrannical government.
Yes. Okay. What were the two questions?
You have a couple things.
All right.
Justin said, so you're not for banning firearms, not raising the age limit. What exactly is it that you propose to remedy this situation?
Okay.
Sal said, hey guys, Scott, we can't...
We can't be friends anymore.
I think it's supposed to say, why can't there be a test for everyone who buys guns? You need to test to drive a car every 4 years. You need to pass at least a visual test to get your license. How about a psychological test every few years to own a high-powered gun? And one more thing Justin said, the cops that you guys were talking about outside the school.
Yeah.
These cops weren't trained to clear a room. 4 of them sat outside during the shooting, which I think you spoke to.
Yeah. So the
all right,
question.
well, I'm gonna end here and say anybody who kind of tired of holding the phone. If anybody wants to finish listening to this conversation, it'll be up hopefully tomorrow. Maybe if not next week, I'll let you know. And we're gonna finish solving the world's problems here.
What's Offensive Weekly?
And my arms
don't do that again.
are stronger than yours.
You can go ahead and shut that one off too. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Again, if you want to listen to the rest of this, check us out on iTunes. And those of you who are listening, seriously, on iTunes, if you can subscribe to this, it does a number of things. It pushes us up as far as where we are in the standings of podcasts, as well as whenever we release a new episode, it'll automatically be available for you. So please subscribe. It really means a lot. And check out our website, consideringthesource.com. Don't forget also iconicphotographer.com and Donutland. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks and my lovely assistant, Deanna, for doing
buddy.
Thanks for doing the womanly duties.
Yes.
Oh.
Now go make lunch. All right.
I'm going to go get my AR-15.
So